News Radio 610 WTVN.
Now, the LegacyRetirementGroup.com phone line, we welcome Joel Patterson, who's a workplace expert with us. Joel, good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
So it's a holiday today, but you're working, I see, right?
I am absolutely working, as are you.
As am I. Hey, you know, this caught our eye, and we've talked about this before, but here we are again. You know, so many people continue to be working remotely, and you've got the lines between office time and personal time who become a little blurred. But, you know, is it true? Are we seeing studies that, you know, getting an email from the boss, especially late at night or maybe a lot of emails, could make you sick?
Yeah, you know, this is just a continuation of the craziness that we've had for the last couple of years, really. I mean, we swung into working from home all the time, and really these kind of things never came. Well, they came up, but not to the extent that they are now. And I think as we've learned over the last couple of years that for people that are working from home, there isn't a real transition to get away from work because you're always at home working or you're at home homing. And this really is what we're trying to do or what some countries are trying to do is actually legislate this. France has passed something. A couple of other European countries are looking at it. Canada's looking at it. To where what they say is after a certain time, like if you finish your day at 5 or 6, nobody's allowed to contact you for work unless it's some kind of an emergency. Now, I don't know how they're going to enforce this. I don't know how they're going to be able to know what your working hours are, what constitutes an emergency. But the intent of this is really just boundaries, right? To make sure that people understand that people do have a life and that they need to be able to be respectful of that if you want to keep them employed. You know, the way that the labor market is these days, the last thing I want is to be worrying about whether or not I'm bugging somebody at night and then chasing them away. Right now, the most important thing for just about every business is recruiting and retaining really good quality people. So this is just another way to try to make sure they know you're doing, or at least trying to do what's best for them.
Right. Workplace expert Joel Patterson is with us this morning. We're talking about, you know, what do? You get an email you get it 9, 10 at night. Meanwhile, your typical day is maybe 7, 8 in the morning till maybe 5, 6 in the evening. What have you heard in those countries? What are the repercussions to a workplace abusing that? The emails.
Well, I don't think it's any different than what you see here. I mean, we've all had bosses that just kind of overstepped what they really should do. So whether it's yelling at you, which is unacceptable these days, or if it's calling you at all times at night, and if they're doing that every day, it's a problem. If they're doing that once a month or even maybe once a week, I don't think that that's as big of an issue. But think about it this way, too. If you're the boss and you send an email to one of your people or you send them a text in the evenings, even if they don't respond to that, chances are you're going to create a little stress for them. So as a leader in your organization, the other thing I'd recommend is even if you want to send some of these emails at 10 o'clock at night because that's the best time for you to work, you know, use that scheduling function or something and have it set first thing in the morning, and then you'll just look like you got up early so that you could get to work before everyone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Joel, you were talking about yelling earlier. You know, one area where I feel like that hasn't changed, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, construction sites. I mean, I used to work construction sites, and let me tell you, I've been called a lot of different names I can't say in the air.
You know, I would say construction sites and football coaches.
There you go. No doubt. So at this point, are you seeing any type of legislation in any of the states here in the U.S.?
No, and I really don't see this. I mean, think about just what we're going through with the vaccine mandates and trying to push through OSHA. I mean, there's no way. But the whole legislation of this seems a little bit like an overreach to me. But I do agree that the intent, you know, having some balance between work and life is important to people. So don't forget that.
I think it just comes down to that person. Like if you don't appreciate or want emails after a certain time, either you set up your, instant reply, or you just straight up tell your boss or tell people, hey, look, I just so you know, I don't do any emails after 7 p.m. I just don't, and that's just the way it is. You might have to do something like that.
There's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, especially when you start a job, once you're in there and you develop some boundaries or you identify how that organization likes to work, take all that stuff into account. And like I said, I mean, if you're not happy with your job right now and you feel like you're not being treated well, you should go look, because there are a lot of people out there that probably treat you better looking for you right now.
Joel Patterson, workplace expert, is with us on News Radio 610 WTVN and the Brandon Boxer Show this morning. I think it was last fall, we saw the Great Resignation really take off, Joel. And here we are, January 2022. Still millions of people that, it depends on the month you're talking, but the last month's, at least data that we have, showed that they're resigning in huge numbers. Where are they going, and is this going to continue?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, because nobody knows. It's not just that they're going somewhere, because maybe they're changing jobs, but where are all the people that never came back? Because for most industries, whether it's service industry or professional industry, you're having a hard time finding people, and nobody's really been able to identify where they went, other than there's a lot of people that just decided they didn't want to work anymore. But they can't all be that.
No.
So it goes back to just making sure that you're running a company that people see as valuable to their career and to themselves, and then you continue to perpetuate that and keep people engaged and happy. And if you don't do that, you're going to be hurting these days, no doubt.
Joel, we've seen these wage wars between companies. I don't know how much higher you can get by, flipping burgers at this point, working the drive-through. But I had an eyebrow like, wow, that's a pretty good wage. I might consider that, working the drive-through. Is that sustainable, though? How long is that going to continue?
Well, it depends on the industry. I can tell you from experience, the industry that I work in, which is IT services for the most part, it is ongoing and it is not slowing down. But it has to at some point, because the way that these things are progressing, it's not sustainable. You're seeing inflation go up, you're seeing prices go up for just about everything, and that's when things will start getting really impacted on whether or not people are willing to spend that extra amount, and then they'll start getting some wage pressure back down. But it's just I continue to say, if anybody tells you exactly what is going on, and they don't know what they're talking about, and I continue to try to be flexible and do the best that we can, but recognizing that everybody's business is really relying on their employees. So you've got to make sure that you're taking care of them in this day and age.
Sure. Joel, you're miserable at your workplace. Is this not probably the best time in one's life to look for a better job?
It absolutely is. If you've got the energy and you've got the desire to look around, and just do a little research. The biggest thing is, I would also tell you, though, if you're not happy with your job but you like your people, maybe you're just not happy with the pay, take the time to talk to the people at the organization that you're currently at. Don't just assume you have to jump, because sometimes it's just a matter of having a conversation. They know what's going out in the industry. Have that conversation and see if you can get the situation turned to be a little better for yourself, and you might not have to go anywhere at all.